students. Welcome to this online teaching classes of Academic World School, Bemetara. Today we will be dealing with the topic that is excretion, which is again from the first chapter. In the last class we studied about the excretory organs in human, that is kidney. We read about its structure and function. Today we will understand what is present inside the kidney, actually what is happening inside the kidney, that the waste components are being filtered out. So today we will study about the structure and functioning of nephron. Nephron is the structural and functional unit of kidney. What we read in the last class, that kidney is a bean-shaped organ and this kidney is divided into two parts. The outer one was the cortex and the inner part was the medulla. So we'll understand this nephron, which is a structural and functional unit of kidney. It is how it looks, what is its function, what are the various components. So let's begin. That is nephron. This nephron is the structural and functional unit of kidney. You will be surprised to know that in kidney there are millions of nephrons present. Means there are millions of filtering units present which will help in this complex process of filtration. So this nephron, actually what happens, kidney consists of millions of nephrons, or it is called uriniferous tubules. From the name itself we understand tubules means it might be consisting of many kinds of tubes, right? So we'll understand, first we'll see how does a typical nephron look like, and then we'll see what are the various components that are present inside the nephron. So let's begin. This nephron, which we understand as the structural and functional unit, it comprises of two parts. What are the two parts? The first part is called Malpighian body or Malpighian corpuscle. It is also called renal corpuscle. I told you in the previous class, whenever we find the word renal, we understand that it is associated with kidney. It is also called renal corpuscle. And the second part consists of tubes, which we call it as renal tubule. To understand this, first we will see how does a nephron look like. So I will draw a diagram here. If you have not taken out your notepad yet, take it out so that you will draw the diagram along with me. In this way you will learn to make the diagram as well. Just see here, what I have drawn is a cup-shaped structure. I will tell you what this cup-shaped structure is known as, and then it extends downward, forms a first folding, right? It comes down. And here it forms a hairpin loop kind structure. This loop kind of structure is formed. It extends draw the diagram along with me. Now see here, this is a cup-shaped structure. This cup-shaped structure is called Bowman's capsule. Let me label it. It is called Bowman's capsule. Right? This Bowman's capsule, this Malpighian body, which I told that nephron is comprises of two parts. One is Malpighian body, that is the renal corpuscle. The second one is the renal tubule. This Malpighian body, it consists of two parts again. First one is glomerulus, and the second one is the Bowman's capsule. Now let's see in the diagram which part is the glomerulus and which part is the Bowman's capsule. This cup-shaped structure, which is broader, blunt end, this cup-shaped structure where the inner lining is made up of double-walled squamous epithelium, we call it as Bowman's capsule. And inside the Bowman's capsule, we find a tuft of capillaries like this. This tuft of capillaries, how it looks like, just see here. See here, this one is the Bowman's capsule, the cup-shaped structure, and the tuft of capillaries that fit like this. Suppose this one is the Bowman's capsule, the tuft of capillary fit like this. This is called the glomerulus, this portion. So I'll label this one as glomerulus. So this together, the Bowman's capsule, cup-shaped structure and the tuft of capillaries that fits inside together, this portion we call it as Malpighian body. The first part. Second one is the renal tubule. This renal tubule consists of various tubules. The first one is the proximal convoluted tubule. In short abbreviation we call it as PCT. It is proximal convoluted tubule. Second one is the distal convoluted tubule, and the third one is loop of Henle. It is also called Henle's loop. Now see, in short we write PCT. In diagram I will write down the abbreviations. It is DCT. Let's find out where are these tubules. What we found till now is this is a cup-shaped structure. The outer concavity consists of this glomerulus, and just from below it extends the tubule, and the first folding that we find, proximal means proximity means near, the first convoluted means the coiled or loop kind structure. So the first proximity, the first loop like structure that we find is the PCT. I'll write the short form here. What do you understand by PCT? It is proximal convoluted tubule. It extends down, and this one is the descending limb. Descending limb. When it extends down, it forms a loop kind structure like a hairpin, and this loop is called loop of Henle. It ascends up. This portion is called ascending limb. Ascending limb. And after the ascending limb, we find a second folding which is quite far away, distant from this Bowman's capsule. We call it as DCT. This portion we call it as DCT. What do you understand by DCT? It is distal convoluted tubule. This distal convoluted tubule goes and joins to a larger duct which we call it as collecting duct. So first we will understand the structure of nephron. This is like this. There are millions of nephrons present inside the kidney. When the filtration of waste material will take place, we will see how when we will study about the functioning. To begin with, we have started with the structure. Again I will repeat once again. This nephron consists of two parts. One is Malpighian body or renal corpuscle. It is also called Malpighian corpuscle. Second one is the renal tubule. From the word itself we understand the tubule means it might be consisting of various tubes. So this renal tubule consists of first one, that is proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal means the nearest one. The second one is distal convoluted tubule, the second folding or the second coiling, and the hairpin loop kind structure, U-shaped structure. This U-shaped structure is loop of Henle. The first one PCT, it extends down. The hairpin loop like structure, loop of Henle, ascends up. The second folding, that is DCT, which goes and reunites to the collecting duct. Likewise, there are many nephrons that will be connecting with this collecting duct, and this collecting duct will ultimately lead to the ureter. This we have read in the previous class, that the kidneys, there are a pair of kidneys, and from the pair of kidneys arises two tube kind structure called ureters, which goes and joins in a pouch or a sac kind of structure called urinary bladder, from where it is released out, the urine is released out through the opening urethra. So from where does this ureter comprises of or it arises of? We will understand that kidney consists of this kind of a structure, nephron. There are millions of nephron which will be connecting to the collecting duct, and the collecting duct will reunite to form the ureter, which will carry the urine out from the body. Now see, this is the structure, but here what we will find that there are many capillaries which will run very close to this tubule. I am drawing the capillary, just see here. First we need to understand the structure, then we will understand the function, how it works, what it does. Right? Now see here, from here the blood will enter. Here the blood will enter. The vessel through which the blood enters is called efferent arteriole. We need to remember the name. It is efferent arteriole. This efferent arteriole, when it enters into the concavity of this Bowman's capsule, it divides to form a tuft of capillaries. This tuft of capillaries, which we call it as glomerulus, again reunites to form another arteriole, which we call it as efferent arteriole. Efferent arteriole. Right? What we saw here, the blood enters through an arteriole. We know that the renal artery, in the last class we read that the renal artery enters into the kidney. This renal artery divides to form arterioles, which we call it as efferent arteriole. This efferent arteriole takes the blood inside. When this efferent arteriole enters into the concavity of this Bowman's capsule, it divides into a tuft of capillaries, and then when this tuft of capillaries reunite, it forms efferent arteriole. What we need to understand is that the diameter of efferent arteriole is more than the diameter of efferent arteriole. So what will happen when this blood will enter from efferent arteriole, which is having a larger diameter, and then when it passes through these capillaries and enters into a arteriole which is having a narrow diameter, it will create pressure here. So this pressure will make the fluid to ooze out from the capillary into the Bowman's capsule, which we call it as ultrafiltration, which we will read when we will study about the function or mechanism of urine formation. So to understand the structure first, efferent arteriole entering into the concavity, forming a tuft of capillary called glomerulus, then coming out, and this is found in close proximity with the various tubules, and then it carries the blood out. So this is the structure which we have seen. Now we will understand what is the function. Now what is the function is, this was what we read about the structure of nephron. Now what is the function? The function of nephron is that it acts as a filtration unit. Now this Bowman's capsule is lined with double-walled squamous epithelium. Here the first step would occur, which I called is as ultrafiltration. Now this liquid which is oozing out is not urine actually. This liquid which is oozing out is called nephric filtrate. What it is called? It is called nephric filtrate. It is nephric filtrate. What does this nephric filtrate consist of? We know that this nephric filtrate consists of both useful and harmful material. Useful material like glucose, amino acids, vitamins, and wasteful materials like urea, uric acid, and so on. So what we understand is that the liquid that is oozing out from the glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule is not urine. We will not call this liquid urine, we will call this liquid as nephric filtrate. Why? Because this liquid liquid not only consists of waste material, it also consists of useful material. Now this useful material has to be restored into the body. Again we will see how we proceed when this liquid moves down the renal tubule. So here the first step, which we call it as ultrafiltration. Let me erase this portion so that we will understand the function of and how the urine is formed. We will see mechanism of urine formation. This mechanism of urine formation consists of 4 steps. Let me write it down first. The first one is ultrafiltration. It is also called glomerular filtration because it is taking place in the glomerulus. The second one is selective reabsorption. It is selective reabsorption. The third one is tubular secretion, and the fourth one is concentration of urine. We will see where all these 4 steps occur because we have already understood the structure of nephron. So what will happen when the blood will enter here, and we estimate that per day 180 liters of blood, 180 liter per day of blood enters into this Bowman's capsule. 180 liters per day of blood enters into this efferent arteriole, and this efferent arteriole will enter into this concavity, which we call it as the glomerulus. So because the diameter of efferent arteriole is more than the diameter of efferent arteriole, so when the blood will move from a more diameter tubule to a less diameter tubule, here pressure will be exerted and the liquid will ooze out into the Bowman's capsule, and this step, the first step, we call it as ultrafiltration. Here the first step that occurs is ultrafiltration. This ultrafiltration, the liquid that is oozing out, we call it as nephric filtrate. This nephric filtrate consists of both useful plus harmful substances. In useful substances, we have glucose, amino acids, hormones, vitamins, and in wasteful substances which has to be removed, which is toxic, is urea, uric acid, and so on. So the liquid now moves towards the proximal convoluted tubule. When this nephric filtrate moves through this proximal convoluted tubule, the capillaries which run very close to this PCT, here what will happen, the useful material will be absorbed by this PCT. And what are the useful material that will be absorbed? That is glucose, amino acid, some ions and water. Okay, these things which is useful, which the body requires, body cannot afford to lose glucose, amino acid and water from the body every time. So these important materials will be absorbed. That's why the name, that is selective reabsorption. Why selective? Because it is selecting the useful materials only and it is reabsorbing. Why the word reabsorption here? Why it is not absorption? Why it is reabsorption? Re means it might be happening for the second time. So where it has happened for the first time? Absorption has happened first time in the process of digestion in the intestine, where the useful material is absorbed. That's why we use the term reabsorption here, because it is happening for the second time. Why selective? Because from the blood it is selecting only the useful material which is required for the body, and the body cannot afford to lose it every time. So this nephric filtrate, which was consisting of this useful material, which consists of glucose, what were the other things? Amino acid, water, solutes will be absorbed here. So here the second step would occur, which we call it as selective reabsorption. I am numbering it, I am not writing the whole name of the process here because we will not get proper space available here. I will write down the numbers from where you will understand that in which part which step is taking place. So first step was taking place in the Bowman's capsule, which I labeled as 1, that is ultrafiltration. When it moves down, the useful materials will be absorbed, that is proximal convoluted tubule. The second step, that is selective reabsorption. Now, not 100% of the important and useful materials will be absorbed, but about 80% will be absorbed. Still, some useful material remains in the nephric filtrate. Now what happens? This nephric filtrate moves down through this descending limb and it enters into the loop of Henle. When it passes through the loop of Henle, what will happen? The excess of water will be absorbed by this capillaries, which will run very close to it. So in loop of Henle, what is the function of loop of Henle? It helps in absorption of water. What is the function of PCT? It helps in absorption of useful materials like glucose, amino acids, right? So each and every part has a specific function to take place. So now when this nephric filtrate moves up from the ascending limb, it ascends up, and when it enters into the second folding that we have labeled as DCT, here in DCT two processes will take place. In DCT, selective reabsorption also takes place and tubular secretion also takes place. What I told is that not 100% of the important and useful materials have been absorbed in PCT. The remaining, which has remained 10 or 20% of useful material, will be again reabsorbed from the capillaries will absorb the useful material, remaining useful material from this distal convoluted tubule, so that it can be sent back to the body, because the body cannot afford to lose it. So what will happen? Selective reabsorption is taking place in PCT and also it is taking place in DCT. Selective reabsorption means absorption of useful material. Absorption of this useful material. This useful material is absorbed in PCT and again in DCT. Almost 80% in PCT, the remaining 20% in DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule. Next, what would happen if the blood capillaries, if having any wasteful material, that wasteful material will be secreted into the DCT. So see here in DCT two types of processes taking place. One is selective reabsorption, where the DCT is giving the important material to the capillaries so that the capillary would take back to the body, and the wasteful material, if present inside the capillary, will be taken by the DCT so that it can be eliminated out from the body. So in DCT two kinds of process taking place. In tubular secretion taking place in distal convoluted tubule. Now this urine, now we can term the liquid as urine because all useful materials have been absorbed already. This urine now enters into the collecting duct, and from the collecting duct it goes and joins to the ureter. From here it will go and join to the ureter, from where it will go to the urinary bladder. It will be stored for some time till it is released out from the body in the form of urine. So in this way there are 4 steps by which this urine formation is formed. Now what happens, here a hormone will be acting, which we call it as ADH, antidiuretic hormone, or it is also called vasopressin. What is the function of this hormone taking place in the collecting duct is, it helps in concentration of urine. If the urine is very concentrated, if the urine is coming out in a concentrated form, this hormone will be secreted. And if a person drinks a sufficient and lot amount of water, secretion of this vasopressin or antidiuretic hormone is not required. This concentration of urine means 75% of the water is concentrated in the PCT. The 10% is concentrated in the loop of Henle, and the rest is concentration is taking place in the collecting duct. And if the concentration of urine is too high, this vasopressin hormone will be released to maintain the concentration of the urine, and if the person has drank quite sufficient lot amount of water, this hormone secretion is not required. So what we have understood is that in mechanism of urine formation there are 4 steps. One is ultrafiltration, second is selective reabsorption, third is tubular secretion, and the last one is concentration of urine. Ultrafiltration is taking place where? It is taking place in the Bowman's capsule and glomerulus, mainly in the glomerulus. Second step, selective reabsorption is taking place in PCT as well as in DCT. The third one, tubular secretion, is taking place in DCT, distal convoluted tubule, and the last one is taking place in the collecting duct. Not only in the collecting duct, it takes place in PCT, then it takes place in loop of Henle, and whatever remains behind is taking place in the collecting duct. So these are the structure of the nephron and the various steps which occurs at various phases. Now you might be wondering how many nephrons might be there inside the kidney. Just in the beginning only I told you that there are millions of nephrons present inside the kidney where this filtration work is going on. The blood consists of both useful and harmful material. The body cannot afford to lose the useful material always from the body. The blood that enters into the kidney through the renal artery enters into the kidney and there it divides to form this efferent arteriole. The diameter of efferent arteriole is greater than the diameter of efferent arteriole. So here pressure will be created and the liquid will ooze out from the glomerulus to this cup-shaped structure called Bowman's capsule. And this is the first step, we call it as ultrafiltration. The liquid descends down, the nephric filtrate descends down. When it reaches the PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule, the important materials like glucose and amino acids will be reabsorbed by the PCT. Almost 70 to 80% of absorption of useful material would take place. This nephric filtrate will descend down through the descending limb and then it moves through this U-shaped tubule which we call it as the loop of Henle, and when it ascends up, here what will happen? The water will be absorbed. In loop of Henle what will happen? Water is absorbed. Now the filtrate which is going or ascending up has in that the important materials have been absorbed, the water has also been absorbed. Few of the important useful materials still remain behind. So when it moves through the distal convoluted tubule, again this second step, that is selective reabsorption, would take place, and when it moves further, the waste material if present in the blood is given back to the distal convoluted tubule, which is the third step, that is tubular secretion, and then this is called urine. Now this urine enters into the collecting duct, from where it goes and reunites to form to join the ureter. So this is the mechanism of urine formation. And if we understand the function of individual parts, proximal convoluted tubule, reabsorption, selective reabsorption of useful material, glucose, amino acids and all, and here in tubular secretion, what are the waste material? Urea, uric acid, creatinine, and so on. These harmful materials will be given back, and this urine consists of these all things. We have read in the previous video also that urine consists of almost 95% water, 2.5% organic solutes like this urea, uric acid, and 1.5% of inorganic salts like sodium, potassium, chlorine and so on. So this is what we read about the mechanism of urine formation. We have completed the structure and function of nephron. We have completed the mechanism of urine formation. So nephron is a very important part, or we call it as the structural and functional unit of kidney, where such an important process takes place, filtration of this useful and harmful material. So next we will study the comparison between alveoli and nephron. Remember, where did we study alveoli? Alveoli we studied in the life process section 2, that is respiration. Alveoli is the respiratory surface where exchange of gases takes place, and nephron is again an important component, that is filtration of, it's a filtration unit. So how do we compare the alveoli and the nephron? That will understand. I hope you have taken out all this, you have taken down, practice the diagram once or twice so that you will be free, you will attempt perfection. Take down all the notes, and at the end I will be giving you 3 assignments which you will be completing. So take down all the notes and send the assignments to me on time. So we will move towards the last one, that is comparison between alveoli and nephron. So let me erase this portion, right, so that we'll start the last one. Okay. Alveoli is an important part of respiration and nephron is an important part of excretion. That's why we need to compare these two components. We need to understand what are the difference or the major differences between this alveoli and nephron. Okay, so let's see here. What I'll do is, in one side I'll write down alveoli, I'll make 2 columns, and the other side we'll write down nephron. What are the parameters based on which we are going to differentiate between these 2 important structures? Alveoli is the most important structure for the process of respiration because this alveoli acts as a respiratory surface, whereas nephron is an important part or constituent of kidney. It is a structural and functional unit of kidney. So that's why there is a need to compare these 2 important structures. So what I will do is I will differentiate it based on certain parameters. Remember the parameters so that it will be easier for you to differentiate. The first parameter will be shape. Let me write down the parameter first, then we will differentiate. The second one is components. The third one is blood capillaries. The fourth one is material. The fifth one is function. And the sixth one is processes. This is an important question which is asked in the examination many a times. That's why we require to understand the difference. Now first coming to the shape. Remember, how does the alveoli look like? It is rounded or polyhedral in shape. The structure or the shape is rounded and polyhedral in shape. Whereas we have studied the structure of nephron just now. How is the structure of nephron? How is the shape? It consists of mainly tubes kind of structure. Proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, collecting duct. So this one alveoli, where it is polyhedral or rounded in shape. Nephron consists of tubules. It is tubular in structure. Right? This is how we can differentiate the shape. Next is the component. Alveoli is a single entity. Right? It is a single entity. Whereas nephron, it consists of 2 entities. It consists of 2 entities. What are those 2 entities? We read just now. One was the Malpighian body, that is the cup-shaped structure, Bowman's capsule, and the tuft of capillaries which fits, that is the glomerulus. That is one entity, and the tubes are the second entity. So there are 2 entities. What were the 2 entities? The 2 entities were, one was Malpighian body, and the second one is renal tubule. So this is another difference between the alveoli and the nephron. It is a single entity. It is a one. It is not differentiated into 2 parts. It is a single entity. whereas nephron, it is of two entities, made up of two entities. The first one is Malpighian body, which is the cup-shaped Bowman's capsule and the tuft of capillaries, whereas the second one is a renal tubule, which consisted of PCT, DCT and collecting duct. The third one is blood capillaries. In alveoli, only one kind of blood capillaries are present. What we can write? One type of blood capillaries are present. Whereas what we saw in nephron, that there are two kinds of blood capillaries. Glomerulus is also a kind of capillaries, a tuft of capillaries, and second there were peritubular capillaries which were surrounding the tubes very closely. So what we can write? Here we have two types of capillaries. Two types of capillaries. What were the two types of capillaries? One was glomerulus and the second one was peritubular capillaries. Right? Next, come to the fourth one, material. In alveoli, what happens? Gases, respiratory gases are exchanged. So here the material that is exchanged or coming into effect are the respiratory gases. Here respiratory gases are the materials that are being exchanged. From respiratory gases we understand oxygen and carbon dioxide. This we have already read in our previous lecture. And what will happen in nephron? What is the material required? The materials are body fluids. Materials are body fluids. Right? Next is function. What is the function of alveoli? It acts as respiratory surface for exchange of gases. This we have read already. Exchange of gases. And what happens? What is the function of nephron? It is the structural and functional unit of kidney where filtration takes place. What we can write? Structural and functional unit of kidney where filtration takes place. Filtration takes place. And what is the last point? The last point is processes. In alveoli, only diffusion is the process by which these gases are exchanged. So here which process is involved? In alveoli, for the exchange of gases, diffusion is required. Whereas in nephron, for the body fluids to be filtered, there are various kinds of processes that are coming into effect. The first one was ultrafiltration. The second process was selective reabsorption. Then tubular secretion and osmosis. Osmosis, why? Because this loop of Henle is dipped or embedded in the interstitial fluid. In our previous class we read that the kidney is divided into two parts, that is cortex and medulla. Now in nephron, which is a part that is present in the cortex? The Bowman's capsule, the Malpighian body, the PCT and the DCT. The upper three portions are present in the cortex region of the kidney. Whereas the loop of Henle and the collecting duct is present in the medulla region of the kidney. So you might have remembered, we have read, suppose this one is the kidney. This kidney was divided into two parts. This one was cortex and this one was medulla. So in this cortex, what are present? Malpighian body, PCT means proximal convoluted tubule, and DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule. These three structures are present in the cortex region, whereas the loop of Henle and the collecting duct is present in the medullary region, from where it comes and comes out from the ureter. So this is all about the comparison between alveoli and nephron. We have completed the last one as well. So now I will be giving you 3 assignments which you will be completing and you will submitting it to me through ERP. Right? Let me erase this portion. This is a 3 marks question. It is very important for the exam point of view. That's why note down the differences and remember according to the parameters so that you won't forget. Right? And this question I will give you in homework as well, so that once you write, you will practice. Write down the assignments. The assignments are number 1, describe the structure and functioning of nephron. You will write down the structure and you will mention the individual function of each and every part. Second one, explain the mechanism of urine formation. In the first question, draw the diagram. Okay, let me mention here with the help of labeled diagram. Second one was explain the mechanism of urine formation, and the last one, compare or differentiate between alveoli and nephron. This difference between which we read just now. There are 6 points. It is a 3 marks question. So these are the 3 questions that you will be completing, and you will take a pic of it. You can complete it in any copy. Take a pic of it and send it through ERP. In case of any problem, you can contact the school reception number. Okay, thank you.